Now, if you put two and two together and you connect the dots, and I've been trying to do that, it's also the name of my first book. If you put two and two together and you look at the Roswell case and you look at the Corona case and you look at the Trinity site and the atomic bomb going off in 1945, and somebody or some visitors from other places keeping an eye on our atomic abilities and our nuclear abilities, then what do you think is the purpose for these demonstrations?
Well, again, this is speculation, and I speculated when I talked the other night that I think all civilizations, if we can make the leap that other planets have developed civilizations of intelligent beings, I think all these civilizations go through a process where they develop nuclear power and nuclear weaponry. And so if these are very advanced beings, many hundreds or thousands of years in advance of us, they've been through this process. They know what can happen from a nuclear war, nuclear holocaust. And so it seems to me it would make sense for them to at least warn us of the dangers, which we already know. Intellectually we know, but we haven't gotten to the point of making it happen. We haven't got the will yet to get rid of our nuclear weapons. And I know this has been talked about since the weapon was developed. Let's get rid of them, but still we haven't done it. And we still live in a very dangerous world in that we could destroy not only ourselves but every living thing on this planet.
You were saying that it doesn't work as a deterrent. You don't believe it works, no, because it leads to proliferation, right?
No, we could fool ourselves and say that because we have nuclear weapons, it is so horrible to think about a nuclear war that that's why we have them, to keep that horror in mind. But still, it hasn't stopped other countries from wanting to develop these weapons. North Korea, Iran are just two examples of that. But still, in the wrong hands, and we know that there are irrational beings out there, that in the wrong hands, they could instigate a nuclear war by getting a hold of these weapons.
You talked about, and it blew me away, exactly what the kilowatt tonnage was and the destruction ability of the first atom bomb. And you talked about today's one missile. Can you mention that?
Yeah, at Hiroshima, I think the kilotonnage of the first bomb there at Hiroshima was about 15 to 20 kilotons, and it wiped out 100,000 people. At least, and no telling how many other people died later on from radiation poisoning. But the lowest tonnage bomb that we've got in our current arsenal is 350 kilotons. 350 kilotons. And it goes up from there. We have weapons up to 1.5 megatons. So we're talking about devastating weaponry here.
We're talking about insanity.
Insanity, sure.
And we keep doing this insanity. So apart from the fact of UFO disclosure, I think there's a second message here about the insanity that some culture is trying to warn us about before it's too late. And so there's almost a crisis mode to this kind of disclosure, this kind of message. It's very important what you're doing, and you and the other officers at the Washington Press Club. Now, will you tell us what you think the feedback was from the media and from the people that watched it live like I did?
This was outstanding. It was much greater than we had hoped for. At the last moment, CNN aired it live, and as a result of that, all the other major networks picked it up and had stories on it. We had write-ups in the Washington Post. We had other write-ups in different newspapers across the country. So we were very, very pleased with the reception from the media, the mainstream media. Now, of course, we all know the media has short memories. There's news cycles, and we need new news all the time, right? So
Yeah,
it's kind of faded out now, but still, we're not going to go away. Us witnesses who have talked, and in particular myself, are not going to stop. We still want answers from especially the Air Force, if not our federal government, about this, and we're going to keep pursuing it.
You know, I'm hoping that the general public and the media have a conscience about this, because you, the brave ones, I mean, you people that come forth are the real heroes here, are doing your part. But I think when you get this information, it should be digested and people should do something. I mean, I believe that we do have the ability of doing something about this. Do you?
Absolutely. Where, you know, things like what we've done have a tendency to bring other witnesses forward. And I think I would encourage anybody who has information and knowledge about these sorts of things to come forward and talk about it, talk to me about it, talk to any of the other witnesses. The more the public demands answers, the sooner we'll come to the point where the government will have to address this.
Well, it's the grassroots level
it's the
again. It's the grassroots
effort.
because I think there's a fallacy in thinking that the president's going to disclose anything, or all of a sudden there's going to be an announcement. That doesn't even make any sense, because there's no preparation for it. But I think this is ironic that the general populace would become very educated and demand the truth. In other words, would ask their leaders. And you mentioned yesterday, and I agree with you, some of the people in Washington have no idea about UFOs. They've got other things on their plate, and they don't know about this.
Right. Yeah, so many people are afraid to touch this for, again, being the subject of ridicule. But all I ask is, you know, take a look at my book, for example. And it's not just my book, but there's evidence out there. I've got a lot of evidence in there. I've got documents in there. I've got testimony in there, testimony from credible people. If you just take the time to investigate in depth some of these things, I think you'll realize that this is real. This is a real phenomenon.